I haven't made a video in so long that I literally don't know how I typically intro a video, and I can't stop looking at myself in the viewfinder. So today's video is gonna be a struggle for so many reasons, so sick. Hey guys, what's up? I've literally recorded that so many times now that I can't possibly do it again. Hello, happy quarantine. I'm not wearing pants. Welcome to my video about having unaccepting parents. Sarah's pooping and I can't film while she poops. I want the record to reflect that Sarah has chosen me to start recording to heat up her coffee, take a shit, and sing to the dog. Okay, but seriously, it has been a very, very long time since I've sat down and filmed a video for you guys, and today marks my 1 year of not speaking to my parents because they don't accept that I'm gay. So I figured what better way to kind of celebrate and talk about that than doing a Q&A for those of you who may experience the same thing or have a partner that experiences the same thing and don't really know how to handle it. So I asked you guys on my Instagram, which is @KateAustin with 2 N's. I will put all the links and everything down there as always. But I asked you guys to send in some questions for me to answer so that I can maybe help some of you with the way I've experienced this for the past almost 6 years. So we're gonna get into that. The first question I'm gonna answer, which is one that I got a lot, is did you anticipate your parents kicking you out when you came out? And I didn't know that they would kick me out per se, but I definitely knew that it was not gonna be a good outcome. I was not shocked by it, but I didn't know like at which level my mom would react. Clearly she went, 100, but I knew that it wasn't gonna be a good reaction. The next question I'm gonna answer is, how were you able to walk away from your parents? I feel like it's something I may need to do. Obviously, it is not an easy decision. It is still not an easy decision even after you've made the decision, but I spent about 5 years trying to make my relationship with my parents work. I could never have a happy middle with my parents and my life. Like, it was either, if I was talking to them, my life didn't exist. Like, the things that they would pick and choose what they would want me to talk about and how they want me to talk about it. And it constantly felt unhealthy and made me feel unashamed and kind of took me back to those places and times when I had such bad internalized homophobia, and it makes you feel like you have something to hide when you don't. So their feelings were being projected onto me for so long, and when I could not feel any change was happening after I bent over backwards to try to make us meet in the middle, I kind of drew the line there and knew that it was no longer serving me to have a relationship with them. It wasn't healthy for me mentally, emotionally. It was always making me more sad than it was happy, and I knew that I had to do something about it, and the only way that I could was to cut off our relationship. And I hope that down the road it changes and they want to kind of mend everything that's happened, but until then it is going to remain how it does. The next one is, how do you handle nasty comments? This was one I got. I only lived with my parents for about a year and a few months after I came out of the closet, and my mom had such a bad habit of saying things to me that were very mean and very inappropriate and very homophobic, and it was never ever easy, and it was so hard to live there, and it was such a toxic environment. And so there's no real way that you can hear those things and handle them in a way that's like positive. But what I think I did was I tried to kind of take them and let it fuel my fire of getting out of my parents' house and kind of moving in with Sarah or doing whatever I needed to do to make the next step to no longer be in that environment. So I knew, after me and Sarah had been together for a few months, we kind of made the plan that I would move in with her when she graduated college, wherever she got a job, and I busted my ass to be able to make that happen. So I kind of guess I took those and just kind of let it fuel my fire to get the fuck out. Did you ever try to reconnect with your parents? No, I did not. I don't feel the need to. I have not done anything wrong to them, and so I don't feel like it's my responsibility to reach out to them and apologize for anything or try to mend anything. I have, like I said, done so much in the past to try to make them comfortable and bend over backwards for them and wait for them and be patient with them to kind of meet me where I am in my life, and it never happened. So for now, until they can kind of jump on board and love me and Sarah together wholeheartedly, I have no interest in reaching out at all. Do you think your parents will ever accept you? I have no idea. My mom is a very stubborn human being who is very, very, very set in her ways. So I would be very shocked if it were to ever change, to be honest. That's just me being very, like, I'm not being like negative with that. I'm just being very, I try to keep myself realistic because I think for so long I held on to very small steps I thought she was taking, and now I look back and realize that it was just me blinded by like how I was taking what she was saying and doing, and it was never her accepting me. I don't think my mom would ever come around. I hope she does. We'll see if she does, but not in the near future if it does happen. But it's not something that I'm like sitting and waiting for. It's gonna be something that if it does happen, great. How was the relationship with your siblings after you stopped talking to your parents? So my relationship with my siblings luckily did not suffer at all. All my brothers are very supportive of me and love me, and Sarah as well. We did not suffer. I think that it definitely caused some turmoil in my parents' relationship with my siblings because I feel like maybe my mom took it as though they were turning on her, where it was never like I never wanted it to be like a side thing. Like I didn't want anyone to choose my side. Not that there should be a side in me being who I am, but I never had an issue with anything, and if anything did happen because of that between them and my parents, that was separate from me, and I really am not sure. Before you came out to your parents, how did you know you were ready? So mine is a little different because I was kind of outed to my parents by a brother of mine, and I don't think that I was ready, but I look back and I'm very grateful for how it happened because I don't know how long I would have stayed in the closet, and I also don't know, you know, how I would have ever gone about it. And I am grateful that it happened when it did, and I kind of just was like, you know what? Got it over with, and kind of just like rolled with how it happened, because I don't think that I would be here today if I didn't have it happen how it did when it did, if that makes sense. But I don't know if you're ever ready to come out. I mean, I think some people are, but you know that nobody has an exact timeline, and I don't know that there's ever this time where you're like, all right, I'm doing it, I'm ready. You're always gonna be kind of afraid or nervous, and you just have to trust yourself and do what feels right for you and what's safest for you. Did you wait till you were financially stable to cut your parents off? I haven't been financially dependent on my parents since I was like 17 or 18, so this was never like a factor in me coming out or cutting them off or being kicked out or anything like that. Thankfully, I've always kind of provided for myself in that sense. Financial stability and financial dependency was never an issue that played into mine, fortunately for me. I have been financially independent for a very long time. So I was, but only because I have been for a while. How do you deal with your parents not wanting anything to do with your partner and ignoring them after years? So my parents did this exactly to me. I eventually drew the line. After repeatedly fighting with them years and years about Sarah not being allowed to holidays or allowed at their home, or if Sarah was invited to, you know, my nephew's birthday party, my mom would say that she wasn't going, and it put us in like a very uncomfortable position. It was just a constant battle of me just trying to exist and having Sarah also exist with me when we were never even trying to cause an issue. We were literally just trying to be places. It got to a point where I had to draw the line. That was a big factor for me. I was so sick of going to holidays and stuff like that and having everyone have their, you know, boyfriends or girlfriends there and being able to like enjoy the holiday together, and me having to hide mine or not include mine like something was wrong with it. And like I said earlier, like it just made me feel so guilty and ashamed, and made me feel like so taken back to when I first was starting to realize I was gay when I was like in middle school, and immediately brushed it under the rug, and how ashamed I felt then. And I did not ever want to feel those feelings again, and I wasn't gonna let anybody make me feel that way. So that is one of the main reasons why I also cut off contact with my parents. Because if they're not willing, accepting me is one thing, or letting me come around, but now, like, I'm getting married to Sarah, she's my fiance. If she's also not included, then you don't get me at all. It's just, we're a package deal, or it's nothing. Even though your parents don't accept you who you are, do they still check up on you? No, I have not talked to my parents literally since this very day last year. I do not know if they ask about me. They do not have my number. I changed my number pretty soon after I stopped talking to them. They don't check in with me. I don't know if they ask about me. I highly doubt it. I don't know. I have no idea, but I don't check on them, and they don't check on me. Did they ever make you doubt your worth? I think that is something that is tied into the emotions that you feel when two people are supposed to love you, your parents, unconditionally, and you don't feel that way, you don't feel it reciprocated, especially when you're sharing something about yourself that was so hard to deal with for so long. It does kind of make you question that, but I also have learned over time that nobody decides my worth besides myself. And if somebody doesn't want to be a part of my life solely because I am gay and don't care, they like, if me being gay immediately gets rid of all these other amazing qualities that I or you have, then that's on them. They are missing out on so much, and they don't decide my worth at all, and I completely do. And I know the value of who I am and what I bring to the table. So maybe sometimes if I'm really emotional, or definitely in the past, but I know now that no, they don't. Do you ever get jealous that others' parents are accepting, and do you wish that could be you? Sure, oh my God, totally, of course, I'm a human being. I wish nothing more that my parents would dress up in rainbow and walk in a pride parade, but that's realistically never gonna happen. I try not to carry jealousy with me too much, just because it is a very harsh emotion to feel. But for sure, I am very lucky to have Sarah's parents, who literally have pretty much just become my parents, and they are super, super accepting of us and love us exactly how we are. So that helps a ton. And I'm surrounded by so many other adults and like motherly figures and stuff like that, that it kind of does make up for those things. But totally, yeah, I get jealous. It's hard for me to see things sometimes, but you have to know, you know, what you can take emotionally. And sometimes I just have to like not tune into certain things, or not, you know, pay attention to certain things going on if I know that it's gonna make me feel bad about what's going on in my life, if that makes sense. But they're all emotions, and you have to process them as they come. And you know, you can't make yourself feel bad about those things, especially if it's something that you have no control over. So because of how your parents reacted, did it make you nervous to come out to others? No, I don't think so. After I turned 18, I grew up in a pretty conservative town, but all of my friends were super progressive, and I knew that mostly none of my friends would have any issues with it. And the people that I kind of surrounded myself with at the time, and even now, like, I've been very fortunate to always find like-minded people like myself. So no, I do get nervous when it's like an older generation or an Uber driver, if they ask, like, you know, something about my life and it has to do with my fiance or whatever. I get nervous in situations where my safety could be at risk, or how people will react, but it's typically only when it's like older people, or, you know, some random situation like that. But no, I'm typically not scared. I'm very, very open and honest about being a homosexual. How do you feel about your parents' involvement in your wedding? My parents don't have any involvement in my wedding. They are not invited, obviously. But I, again, am surrounded by really great people who will take the place of certain traditional things where my parents would be involved, and also we're cutting out a lot of traditional things too. So I don't feel too sad today about my wedding, but again, emotions are wild and I feel things a lot. I'm a very emotional person, so who knows how I'll feel, you know, as the year goes on before we get married next year, but today I feel fine about it. Because of this, do you find yourself dealing with any sort of abandonment issues? No, but I think it's because, other than being kicked out, after we solved that, kind of, and I continued a relationship with them, I'm the one who ultimately decided to no longer speak with them. So I don't really feel any abandonment issues, because it was my choice to no longer speak to them, if that makes sense. Advice for people who have unaccepting parents but still have a relationship with them. Know your boundaries and know what's best for you, and don't ever feel like you are stuck in this relationship just because they are family. I think it's just really, really important to remember you hold the cards in your relationships, and if you are ever in a position where you feel like it's not safe for you, or it's not healthy for you, or whatever it is, don't be afraid to walk away. Don't be afraid to draw healthy boundaries. Don't be afraid to stick up for yourself. Obviously, safety's first. I know that not everybody is fortunate to have or live in a healthy or safe home, so just make sure that you know you are always safe, and there are tons of resources to, if you are not, to talk to somebody to get that solved for you. So if and when you have children, will you let your parents be in their lives? No, not unless they do something between now and when we decide to reproduce, to mend our relationship and kind of prove that they would stick around and fully support us. Like, they will not be back in my life unless they can 100% support Sarah and I with no comments, no remarks, no anything, no judgment. they will not be a part of my life. And even then, if I had children by then, I would not let them meet my children unless I know that they were going to be completely supportive and healthy, because I don't want my kids to ever feel any projection from somebody else and make them feel like their mothers are wrong, or, you know, whatever it is. So it would take a lot for sure. What gave you the courage to finally put your happiness first? I had a final straw, which was today last year. Like I said, I had sent my mom a link to a mother's Facebook group about having queer children. And it wasn't even like a group that was like, we love our queer children. It was just kind of like a discussion with like threads where you can to kind of talk about anything that involves having a queer child, whether you don't like it, whether you like it, just kind of a support group for moms as though they need it for dealing with having a queer child. And my mom responded and told me that she was never gonna open that up and it's disgusting and blah, blah, blah. And it started an argument between us because I told her I was just trying to give her like a resource or whatever. And we got in this huge blow up fight and she just said all these horrible, horrible things to me. And we were at Sarah's parents because last year on this day, it was Easter. And I'm like sitting in Sarah's childhood bedroom, just like sobbing. And I was sitting there and I was like, what the fuck? Like, what have I done that is so wrong that I deserve this constant like daggers thrown at me all the time, like these hurtful words? And like it wouldn't even just like be that I was gay, like it would start, like it always start me being gay, and then she would blame all these outside things that I've ever done wrong, or the fact that I never graduated college, like she would blame that on me being gay. And it was just like all of these things that she could kind of throw at me were constantly thrown at me. And I was sitting there and I was like, I do not deserve to be verbally abused by somebody just because they're my mom. It is so unfair, and I was so sick of constantly feeling like I was beaten up by somebody who's supposed to love me. And I was just done. I was so done with feeling like that. Like you can only be broken so many times by someone before you finally decide that like you're picking up the pieces and they're no longer a part of that. And that's what I did. I was so sad, and I was just like, I'm sick of feeling this way. So that was it. That's how I decided. And I was like, I told her to never contact me again unless she is ready to support me, and that's where we are now. Haven't spoken to my dad for over 10 years. Any tips for handling the bad days? I think just to let them come and to let yourself feel them, because I think that's one thing that I've struggled with a lot is I try to prove that I'm really strong for you guys and for myself, and I want to prove that like I don't need them to myself, and I don't let myself properly process emotions all the time, and sometimes it comes out in a tidal wave, and because I've been holding it in for so long. So when you're having a hard day, let yourself feel those emotions and kind of process them and get them out. You don't want to hold them with you every single other day. You don't want to let those emotions weigh you down on days where you're not even sad. So if it's a bad day, let it be a bad day. That's okay. You're gonna have them. They're temporary. The next day is gonna be better. And if it's not, the next day after that might be better. It's all things in time, but let yourself feel what you feel when you feel it. How do you respect their opinions while also respecting your own? I don't respect their opinions. I respect them as people because I'm an adult who is respectful, but I do not respect those opinions. There is nothing wrong with who I am. There is nothing wrong with my relationship, and I don't ever and will never condone somebody who makes people feel bad about something they cannot handle. And I will always stick up for my community, and I would never want them to go in the world and ever make anybody else feel that way, or feel bad about who they are. So I don't respect their opinions, and I always made that known when we would argue about it, that I would never agree with that. And so I think it's a very hard line to be when we're talking about who people are and how we treat people. I can only be a certain amount of understanding until I no longer can be patient with it, if that makes sense. We're talking about human beings, not, opinions on what food is better than the other. Do you feel guilty at all for cutting them out of your life? No, I don't. I tried very, very hard to make our relationship work, and it wasn't, and they never tried half as hard as I did. So no, I do not feel bad at all. That doesn't mean I don't feel sad sometimes, or I don't feel you know, whatever. I just don't feel bad about it. This is, did you tell them you were cutting them off or did you just block them? So as I said earlier, I was already arguing with my mom, and towards the end of it, it was just kind of getting in circles and going in circles and circles and circles, and nothing was getting discussed or solved. And I fucking hate fights like that. I think it's so annoying to have a discussion about something or an argument about something when it's just like, you did this and you did this, and there's no solution being brought up. So I just said, I was like I said earlier, please don't contact me again. I don't want to speak to you until you can accept my life. And I blocked her, and that was that. I didn't block her, I just changed my number. Do you want to answer a guest question?
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know, this is my fiance, Sarah. I feel like all of you, if you're here, you know that. But the question I got the most, which I feel like you could probably answer better than me. What is it?
A fuzz.
Is basically, it's just, how do I support my girlfriend whose parents are unaccepting?
Oh, how do I support my fiance whose parents are unaccepting? Okay, I was there for Kate whenever she needed me to be there for her. I never tried to like suggest, I used to try and suggest things in the beginning, but like there's nothing that you can change or like make better about the situation. So I bounce off of her. I go off of like how she feels. If she's sad, then I'll obviously be there for her. If she needs advice, I'll give it to her, but I won't take it upon myself to like direct her on what she should do because I'm not the one going through it. So,
all right, there you have it.
Hope that helps. Enjoy.
I love you. It's coffee breath. Anyway, that is all for today's video. I hope that this helps some of you, and if you are going through this, I am sending you all of the love of my heart. There is nothing harder and weirder and more complicated in my life. So I am sending you all the love, and I love you guys, even if you're not going through it or if your partner's going through it. I'm sending you the best vibes, and I love you all, and I hope you have the best day, and I hope, again, you guys are all staying safe and staying home if you can. I love you guys. How many times did I just say that? All right, I love you. Bye. I always forget to say this, but if you like today's video and you like all my other videos, please like, comment, and subscribe, and click the bell for the notifications so that I can live my life and feel validated.